Wavehealernation, Tsunami Healing, welcome back to another episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. Very excited. I was very moved by a documentary that I recently spoke about, Here is Better. And I'm excited because we have one of the producers here with us, Sian Edwards-Beal. Sian, thank you so much for spending time with us this morning.
Dustin, thank you for having me.
Yes, I don't know if you probably didn't get a chance to listen to my review, but I was deeply moved by this documentary. I myself have been diagnosed with mild PTSD. I wasn't in the military and I've never been in combat, but I have had some traumatic events happen to me. The biggest one being I was robbed at gunpoint 10 years ago. So for myself, this documentary, it was triggering, it was inspiring, it was hard to watch. The thing that I found most interesting is that just listening to these war veteran stories, um, I felt all the same feelings that I felt going through therapy and when I was in the event. And I just thought that it was so interesting that trauma works that way, right? And I believe they say it in the documentary, trauma is trauma. So, Sian, I just wanted to know right off the bat, what was the inspiration for this? Because this documentary follows four different war veterans, all from different backgrounds with different stories, but they all have their own story of trauma in witnessing combat. And I just want to know, did they come out? Did they come to you guys? Did you guys find them? How did all this come and start?
Well, our executive producer, Bill Brandt, read a New York Times article by Dave Phillips, which said that 22 veterans a day were taking their own life.
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted to make a difference in any way that he could.
Mm-hmm.
He met with me and shared this piece of information. I had no idea that this was the case. And in sharing that information, we talked about whether there was a film that could be made that could make a difference for people.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a very important subject, and I'm so sorry to hear about your own experience. This is something that we wanted to see whether there was a path to some kind of healing. So Jack Youngelson, our director, came on board, and we started down the road to finding out about the kind of therapies that were available to people. And that was a long journey because it wasn't something that I knew about or Jack knew about, but we were able to take that road. We met with a lot of different veterans. We met with a lot of different places where they were working to help veterans.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually we located the four veterans that you see in the film.
Yes, they're very brave and courageous for stepping out and sharing their story. And I just want them to know that they have helped somebody here. Just a beautiful thing that I realized and I felt connected through this documentary is just watching them go through the programs that they were going through. They had a community around them. A lot of the times it does feel like we are alone in our own minds, dealing with the things we have to deal with, and we feel like nobody else can relate. But that was the beautiful thing is, wow, not only have I felt these things and, am I dealing with these things, but other people are too. And some people to a much higher degree than I am. And thankfully, we're all in it together. And we're all here to help and support each other. So I think that that's really the beautiful thing about this documentary is spreading that message. And I mean, this it's a big topic. So diving a little bit more into it, you said you guys had never really, I guess, experienced it yourself or had that type of degree. What made you kind of want to go down that path of even tackling a subject like PTSD?
Well, I think when we read that the veterans, when we read that the veterans, how extreme the situation could become for people,
Mm-hmm.
the idea that people who were putting their lives on the line for us daily were then coming home and still suffering.
Mm-hmm.
everybody knows a veteran, or everybody know. I would say that was what became apparent. Everybody is either related to or knows a veteran,
Mm-hmm.
and my husband and business partner at Green Hummingbird Entertainment's father was a D-Day veteran, and
Mm-hmm.
so for me, this story was personal in the sense that my mother-in-law had said to me, that she'd always felt that possibly her husband could have done with some therapy.
Mm-hmm.
But when he came back from the Second World War, that wasn't even a conversation. The only
Mm-hmm.
people who went to go and see therapists in their mind, were quote crazy people.
Mm-hmm.
And so, mental health has come a huge long way since that time period. And so, but yet it's still hugely stigmatized. So making this film was about really taking away that stigma, taking away the idea that if you are looking for help in any capacity, there's anything wrong with wrong with that. It isn't at all. If you break your leg, you go and see a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
If there is, if you have something going on that you feel that you can't handle, it's critical that you go and get help.
Yeah, absolutely. To that degree, I feel like you guys did a really great job with this documentary of taking us to all the deepest dark spots that these people have experienced, but then also, there is light at the end of the tunnel, right? And we do get to a better place, and we're able to see that transformation of, I was here with these people, but now we've moved on, and there is some healing to be had, and there is some like you said, this is better than where I was before, and now they have these tools and resources to be able to move forward. So when you guys are starting out, and these are sensitive subjects and real people sharing real stories that are huge, how were you able to? I guess kind of what were the objectives or missions to be able to tell the story the way you guys did?
Well, I think both of the things that you're pointing out, Justin, we didn't want to sugarcoat the story. We
Mm-hmm.
wanted to be real about what people were going through, but we wanted to find hope
Mm-hmm.
in the story, because there always is hope, but it's very difficult, particularly for people who are in the midst of this, to experience that hope. And so we were wanting to find people who were helping those people find that place, and find those people who were, as you said, using the tools, finding the tools, and taking their journey to the next level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's a huge thing in itself to say, okay, look, I know I have a problem. This is something that, I know I need to put the work in. And these people did that, and they are doing that because it's a daily, practice. For you, and kind of for the rest of the audience out there, maybe they haven't gone through something personally themselves, but like just as you have a relative or somebody who was in war or has experienced some of these events. How can we better support these people, love these people, and help them to encourage them to take that step in their own journey?
Well, on our website, hereisbetter.org, there are a series of resources for people, ranging from where to get help if you are feeling suicidal, to how to support a loved one. So if you go to hereisbetter.org, there are resources there that can point people in the right direction, we hope.
Perfect. And while we're on that subject too, I signed up for it. I noticed that there were events that happen throughout the country, and online. Can you talk a little bit about, or do you know anything about some of the events that may be upcoming, or how one can get connected with it? Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. So the idea is that while the movie is currently in movie theaters, and it is PTSD Awareness Day today, and it drops on VOD on iTunes and Amazon today, so that
Yes.
you can see it. You can see it at home, or you can still see it in the theater. There is an ongoing outreach campaign, which was really important to us in getting involved in the film. That the film would continue to have a life, so that anybody could see it, and that people could both organize screenings themselves. If you go to hereisbetter.org, there is a host a screening button. There will always be information there about where you can have a screening, and it is available to you on iTunes and Amazon. So we really want to make sure that people can see this film, that there will be events at which there will be discussion groups, and we are continuing to make sure that that happens, because we hope that this film will continue, the stories of the people within this film will continue to inspire people to get help for a long time to come.
Yeah, wonderful, great, thank you. Sean, real quick, just a few more questions for you, and then we'll get you out of here. But how has this journey and this experience just working on this project been for you, and just being able to be around it and just see some of the transformations and just putting it out there?
It's been one of the biggest privileges of my life to work on this film. I really have to say that, when I went on, when I started this, I was very intimidated by the people who we were going to interview. These were people who have, achieved extraordinary things, who have defended our country, who are amazing people in every way. And what I realized as we took this journey with them is that, not only were they badasses in the sense of their careers, they were incredible badasses in terms of their ability to take this emotional journey. And for me, I was incredibly moved, and I really saw courage redefined by them. I really began to understand and feel that courage, comes in multiple different ways, and that they really are the most courageous group of people I've ever been around.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that with us. And I found it really inspiring that you guys included a lot of women in the documentary, and just seeing a group of women come together. Because I think most people think that, when you say PTSD, you think about men, you think about war veterans. And
Yeah.
I think that there are so many people out there that just don't realize. And I think it was really good to shed a light, because I connected with Tabitha and Teresa so much. And I really felt for them. My heart really did go out to them. And again, it was really great to see them in a good community, surrounded by other women who have gone through similar things, and knowing that they can be loved through that process, and held up and supported through it. So I just thought that that was a really beautiful thing that, and I think people forget that women, struggle with this too.
Yeah, absolutely. Telling their story was really important to me and Jack, and we really wanted to show that. And then we couldn't have even imagined how extraordinary it would be to be part of their journey. And again, as I said, it was just an incredible privilege to witness their journey.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And last few things too. There are other documentaries out there about PTSD awareness and mental illness, but what do you think kind of sets Here Is Better apart? Because I think for me, the thing is, it's again, you did a great job. You guys did a great job of showing us the deepest, darkest parts, not sugarcoating it, but then also showing us that there is some hope and inspiration in it.
Yeah, I think that's what our intention was, and I think that's what comes out of it. There are many extraordinary documentaries about PTSD, but we really wanted to find those stories that where people were making a shift and making a difference in their own lives. And these four people that we follow, and the other people that you see, just because we spotlighted those people who allowed us into their therapy, there were many other people, both in the women's retreat and in the men's retreat, that really took similar journeys and were incredibly courageous. And that, I think, is what sets us apart, is those stories and those journeys. I also think that, there's a huge number of people behind this film and in this film who, behind the scenes of this film, who also made a very beautiful film, and I think that that makes this film a different experience as well. We went out of our way to shoot this film as beautifully as we could to honor the stories that we saw. It has an incredible soundtrack by Jeremiah Freites of the Lumineers and David Barron. It has an incredible song at the end by Wesley Schultz and David Kushner. David Kushner singing, Wesley Schultz produced it, of the Lumineers. I think that everybody who came on board saw what had already been given and gave their very best. And I think that shines through the film too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And moving forward, because I feel like we're really just at the forefront of a lot of different things. And we've seen a lot of changes throughout the last few years in many different industries. But moving forward, I don't know, where do you kind of see the landscape going?
Well, I think there's been a huge amount of research. It goes on right now into psilocybin and MDMA, and obviously all of those treatments are still in the research phase right now. But those treatments, along with therapy, are showing a huge amount of promise for people. But it's all about therapy. They're all still therapeutic. There isn't a silver bullet, but certainly those are showing really interesting promise.
Yeah, no, and I'm glad you brought that up because I thought there may be hints of that in the documentary, and like you said, it's still so early. So I was going to ask you, do you see that maybe in another film coming later with some of those newer technologies and newer therapies potentially?
I think what's so interesting and exciting is that there is still a huge amount of resources being put in by the government and by a slew of private institutions to finding help um, uh, and being able to support people with PTSD. So I think the next 10 years is going to be miraculous. And hopefully this film helps inspire people to continue to do that work so that people like our four veterans can can continue on the road to a better place throughout their lives.
No, absolutely. Well, Sean, thank you so much. It has been a pleasure connecting with you this morning. I hope to potentially work with you in the future. And again, huge shout out to Jason, John, Teresa, and Tabitha, the main four people who shared with us in the documentary Here's Better. Again, go to here'sbetter.com and
Here'sbetter.org.
Here'sbetter.org, excuse me. And you can get connected there. So we'll tag it up for you. That way we won't mess it up. So, Sean, thank you so much again. I really appreciate it. And it's been a pleasure.
Really has been a pleasure talking to you, Justin.
Thank you so much.